All right, the views and opinions expressed at our own and do not represent the view of our lodge, Grand Lodge, Consistory, or Supreme Council. And we have Reggie Price, classmate Price, today to be interviewed. Good evening, classmate Price. How are you doing?
Good evening, classmate Lindsay. I'm doing fantastic.
Okay, great. Well, we also have classmate Keith McWhite and classmate Mark Alexander on as well. So we are going to get this interview started. All right. So the first question is, how did you become a Freemason? Why did you become a Freemason?
Well, let's see. When I was probably 13, 14 years old, my godfather told me I should consider becoming a Mason at some point. And now my godfather lived to be 96 years old.
Wow.
Him and my grandfather were best friends. My grandfather lived to be 100 years old.
Nice.
My godfather was born in 1892, and my grandfather was born in 1896. So,
Wow.
sitting down talking to these two guys coming up, I got to learn a whole lot of information because they saw everything from the horse and buggy all the way up to the space shuttle.
Yeah.
So when they tell you to do something, you kind of keep that in mind. So I did, and I was a police officer that I knew uh, asked me about joining Masonry, and I said, "Well, I'll consider it. I would have done it sooner, but no one had ever brought me an application. I'd never talked to anybody." And so he got me an application. And one day I was over, when I was working for the city, part of my job, I had to go talk with the police chief. And I was talking to the chief of police at the time, who was Ed Irvin here in Akron. And I told him I had just got my application to join Masonry. He said, "Which lodge?" And I told him Phoenix. He said, "Well, you got to turn that application in." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because that's my lodge." So so with the urging of the police chief, my godfather, and a police officer friend, here I am.
How old were you?
I did not become a Mason until I was 43.
Okay.
I had been, my grandmother was a minister, so I grew up doing volunteer work. I probably started doing volunteer work when I was 5 or 6 years old. Um, And when I first got out of college, I got involved with the Akron Junior Chamber of Commerce. And so I was involved with the JCs for a lot of years, doing volunteer work with them. But after you turn 40, you have to come out of the JCs. And most people come out of the JCs and they either go to the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club and, get involved with that. And I was kind of looking around to decide whether I wanted to do that. And that's when I ran into the police officer friend of mine and said, "Well, hey, you ought to consider Masonry." And I was like, "Well, I'm glad I ran into you because I've been wondering how I could get into it." And so it was, I got into it kind of late in life.
Nice. That's some real history right there. Your grandfather being at such an old age and you having that type of mentorship
Yeah.
from growing up all the way up to who knows. So that's great. What inspired you to become a Scottish Rite Mason?
Well, after I got into the lodge and I started to meet the different brothers in the lodge, the leaders in the lodge, the guys that were the past masters, the ones that were making the most of the decisions about what was going on in the lodge, all of them were Scottish Rites and all of them had their 33rd rings on. And I figured, well, if that's what you got to be the boss, okay, I need to go find out what this is all about.
Okay.
Classmate, what's your favorite house you belong to?
I really like Royal Arch and I really like the council because council is kind of the continuing story of the Royal Arch. And so those two houses combined are probably the two I like best.
Okay. What is your favorite? So I was going to ask, what is your favorite Masonic house or rite and why?
Well, like I said, the council, like I said, being the continuation of the story, and Royal Arch because that's where you get the real word at. And everyone told me when I first come in, well, you got to join Royal Arch because you won't get the real word until you get there. So I said, okay, well, I'll become a Royal Arch Mason as soon as I can. And I still have my mark above my eye from where I got tapped to get that degree. Because when he tapped me, he cut me. And next thing I know, I had blood dripping in my eye. But um, so that one I've kind of bled for. But council, I really like the story. It's just such a beautiful story that they tell the continuation of what happened after Hiram Abiff died.
Hmm. How many or what houses are you? What houses do you belong to?
Well, I'm a Blue House Mason. I'm and past master of Blue House. I'm a Royal Arch Mason. I'm past High Priest. I'm I'm past eminent commander of the Knights Templar, and I'm past thrice illustrious master of council. And then I belong to consistory and Supreme Grand Council.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, what's up with the priory?
I just haven't got into that one yet. Because the priory, they only allowed to have so many, I think 33 guys at a time. And
Oh, okay.
and I think I got either one guy in front of me before I could get into it.
Okay.
And so I haven't been able to get in yet because there just wasn't a spot to come into.
Understand. And I'm gonna need a story about that tapping because I have no idea what that's about. We'll talk about off the video.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. Um what was your what well, I think it's probably fair to say, uh, considering that I had the opportunity and the pleasure of sitting right next to you during this whole um our whole experience of getting our 33rd. It was great being next to you. We link forever, right?
Ever 30,
Ever.
83 and 84 all day, all
83 and
night.
80. That's right. That's right. But do you want to tell the rest of the class what was your profession and what is your profession now? Because there's two
Okay.
levels of
Well,
it. So.
I am currently retired. I retired officially in 2006. My job then, I ran the employee assistance program for the city of Akron, which meant I did all the counseling for city workers when they got stressed out, had drug or alcohol problems, stress, family problems, marriage and problems, any problems on the job, anything like that. My job was to do the counseling, get them worked out, help keep them on the job. If they had any problems on the job where their job was in jeopardy, um, the EAP was kind of the last stop. If they couldn't work it out through supervision or through going through labor relations or going and dealing with going to the Civil Service Commission, um, they would send them the EAP before they got to the Civil Service Commission, because Civil Service Commission was going to either tell you didn't have a job anymore or give you your job back. So I was kind of the last stop to save jobs. So counseling is what I did for a living for all those years. I had majored in psychology in college, so my degree is what I did for work for my 30 years on the job. Uh, Now that I've retired, I am in business with a partner of mine. We run a group travel business, and we take people on group vacations. We do group gambling vacations, basically. So all of our vacations going to include some kind of casino along the way. Now you're either going to stay at a casino or visit one during the time you're on that trip with us. So we do things like cruises. We fly to Vegas. We've been all over the country. We've been to Alaska. We've been to the Caribbean. So, you know, and all these things, we include a casino with it.
Okay, okay. Nice. Very productive and adventurous.
Now, it also sounds like if you want to do a group trip as a class, we know who to contact.
Yeah, I can hook something up. You know, we can put a group cruise together probably pretty easily, I think.
Okay. What are your hobbies?
Travel, I'm sure you could probably tell. Bowling, I do that, and shooting pool. I also like photography, but I'm losing my vision. So my pool shooting and my photography, you know, if it wasn't for the fact I had good cameras, I don't know about the photography so much. People tell me I do a good job. To me, it all looks blurry. I don't know. So, but the pool shooting, I know what's supposed to happen, and on a good day with the GPS working, I'll probably still beat you. Um, on a bad day, you might win.
Okay, okay. So have you, with the pool shooting, have you ever played in a professional uh, um, game, or has it just been for?
Mainly, I do it for fun. You know, I've done some pool tournaments and things, but nothing really professional wise. No, um, I just like the game. It's something I've been doing since I was probably 15 years old.
Okay, okay. All right. Are you married? And if so, do you have children?
No, I'm divorced. The lady I'm with now, she and we've met probably 40 years ago. We both ended up marrying other people. We both ended up divorced and got back together. So I've been around her throughout the 40 years off and on. And she has two kids, two boys. One's an airline pilot and the other's a roofer. And both grown. So
Okay. So you like? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say it just sounds like one of those meant to be type love stories.
Right.
Yeah, met
I
long
guess
ago and got back together.
kind of sort of how it worked out because
Yeah.
we got together. It was kind of shortly. I'd been out of college a couple of years, and I think she was just starting. She was in her first year of college when I first met her, and then we dated for a few years, and then we split up and went our separate ways, and both ended up marrying other people, and then those marriages dissolved and we kind of ran into each other, and next thing you know we're back together again. And so it's been, God, probably 20 years now that we've been back together.
Wow. Okay. And I had the pleasure to meet her.
Yeah, yeah.
While we were
I'm sorry that all you guys didn't get a chance to meet her. The night of our banquet, she was there at the banquet, but she got sick that night, and
right,
I had to leave the banquet early
right.
to go check on her.
So knowing that you are a travel agent now, where is the furthest that you've traveled to visit?
Well, I just got back 2 weeks ago from Panama Canal in Costa Rica. I'm flying to Athens, Greece, and going from Athens to Cairo, Egypt, to Dubai in October.
Oh,
I've been all over the United States, been into Canada, been to Alaska, all over the Caribbean, been around Mexico. So mainly the Western Hemisphere so far. Now we're kind of expanding out, and so we're going to hit Athens, and I'm really looking forward to going to Cairo because we're going to have enough time to go, and I think we're going to do a tour to the Valley of the Kings and go see the pyramids.
oh, nice.
Beautiful. That trip sounds amazing. Tell
That
me,
one
you
I am.
said Greece,
That one I am
Cairo, and
really.
Dubai. Oh man.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to that one.
Mhm.
Initially, when we set that trip up, it was just me and my partner and our two ladies. We was just doing it for us. We wasn't doing it as a business trip. And I put out a post and said that we had booked our trip and we were going to go. And next thing I know, people that had traveled with us before wanted more information. Right now, we got about 20, 25 people that have signed up to take that trip with us.
Wow. He takes the label traveling man to a whole nother level.
Very
Well,
true. Very true.
well, I don't figure there's any reason to sit around and wait on death to catch up with me. I figure if he gonna find me, he gonna have to come looking.
Hey, I get that way.
So, what is your most memorable moment in masonry?
Wow, most memorable. We were doing a project. We were doing a project once. Um, every school year, we donate book bags to some of the public schools here in Akron, and we were doing this project, and I had this little boy come up, and he had this pink book bag, which was a hand-me-down from his older sister, and I had a Spider-Man book bag. And I gave him that Spider-Man book bag, and you saw his head go up and his shoulders go back. And this old boy was just proud as a peacock that he had a Spider-Man book bag and didn't have to carry that pink book bag no more. And that one, I know that kid was touched. And at some point, somewhere in life, he's going to be in a position that he can do something for somebody, and he's going to remember how that one felt. And I think he's going to do that for someone else down the line.
Yes, I believe it. Yeah.
What are your future goals within the organization? I mean, you've already headed
I've headed every house. I don't know.
Got your 33rd. Have you been
got my
to
33rd.
yet?
I think my goals is to be there to teach those that have come behind me, as those that were in front of me taught me. Because if you don't have somebody teaching you, there's no way you're going to get it all on your own.
Well, that's very commendable. I mean, that's actually our duty.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
get that duty multiple times. We get that duty in all the different houses.
Right.
We're supposed to master the degrees and then teach it to the people that's behind us that don't know as much.
That's exactly right. And if some of the guys had not taken me under their wing and did that for me, I wouldn't have the 33rd ring that I have on today. So I figure the best thing I can do now is to give back what was given to me.
Want to kind of go back when he was talking about traveling, but so when you go to different places, you get the chance to visit any lodges in any different places. And
well, I've tried, like we were in the Bahamas, and I've been to Nassau a number of times, but every time I went by the lodge in Nassau, there's been nobody there, because usually I'm there in the middle of the day.
okay.
So there's no one there most of the time. But usually if we're wherever we are, I usually look around to see if I can find one of the lodges. But I've in all the places I've been, I think it's a rarity that I've not been someplace where I didn't run into another Mason.
Oh, wow.
Everywhere I go, every place I've been, there's always somebody that come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you're not alone."
Nice.
I know one trip I took just before the I was going on a cruise, and just the week before, I went to one of the white lodges here in Akron, because I was invited up by a friend of mine, and I sat in that white lodge that night, and then that weekend I left to go get on the cruise. Well, while I'm on the cruise ship, this white guy walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Hey, are you from Ohio?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Are you from Cuyahoga Falls?" I said, "No, I'm from Akron." He said, were you at the lodge in Cuyahoga Falls last week? I was like,
Mhm.
yeah. He said, that was my lodge. He and I were
Okay.
both on the same cruise. I didn't
Okay.
know he
Wow.
was going. He didn't know I was going.
No, I was going. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, so I think it's rare, and if you do any traveling,
Yeah.
I guarantee it'll be a rarity that you'll be in a place that somebody don't come up and say something to you. Um, we were in December. I did a cruise for my birthday, and we were in the airport in Miami, and a guy walked up and he said he was a brother from Philadelphia, a past master from one of the lodges in Philly that I ran into. It's just everywhere you go, you're going to run into Masons.
I haven't really bumped into Mason so much. I always try to find some Masonic, you know, areas or whatever that wherever I go. You know, if
Well,
I'm around in the city or whatever, I'll try to find a closest lodge and see if I could just even take pictures of it from the outside.
I usually try and get a picture of the lodge,
Yeah.
but a lot of times people will see either my necklace or I may
Yeah.
have my Masonic hat on or I may
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a shirt on or something.
Mm,
And
yeah.
somebody always comes up and
Mm,
taps me on the shoulder and say, hey, just wanted to let you know you're not alone.
That's
mm,
interesting.
I know we were in the Caymans once. We was in port. I was getting ready to get on my ship. There was another ship in port, and this guy ran. He was getting in line and going onto the other ship, and he ran from that line, ran over, tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Hey, you're not alone." And he was from Virginia, and he
wow.
ran back and got back in his line, and we both got on separate ships and we kept moving.
Mm,
That's funny.
that is funny.
So
Listen,
so yeah,
I'd have seen you and I'm like, I ain't running over there.
yeah, but I mean, people
Here
see
go a
you
brother.
around.
I see
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
you're
beautiful.
gonna run into people where pretty much everywhere you go all the time.
Yeah.
That it doesn't amaze me so much anymore. When I first started traveling, it did because it's like
Hmm.
we were in Myrtle Beach, and
Okay.
I went up to they don't have gambling in South Carolina. You have to go to North Carolina to go gamble and go on the
What?
casino boat. So I
Okay.
got on the casino boat and I'm out here on the boat, and all these white guys kept walking around talking about, "Hey Hiram, how you doing? Hey Hiram, how you doing, Hiram?" Like, how do these people know?
Yeah.
Here it
Hmm.
was. This was a white Masonic lodge. They were having an outing that day. They were all on the ship.
What?
All of them were Masons,
Wow.
and I didn't know
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just kind of crazy sometimes. It gets really weird.
That's
Hmm.
nice. That's nice.
That's nice.
What what do you want to see change or see more of within our organization?
Uh, Probably the thing we've got to do more of is being in the community and doing more community work, so people see what masonry really is and what it's all about. Most of the time, the people that see Masons either see them when we're in the Grenadier clubs or they see us when we're at a funeral. And the funerals, we tend to get a lot of good publicity. And I've talked to a number of guys that came in because they saw the service being performed and wanted to become a Mason because of that service. Some of the stuff they've seen at the Grenadier Club may have made some people run in the opposite direction, because sometimes they get a little crazy. But um, I think more community service type activities, um, and I think just the increase in the brotherhood, because masonry everywhere is having the same problem, black and white. Uh, there's just not enough new people coming in. Because there's so many other things to distract you in your time.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that is that is definitely true. That is a conversation that we have frequently here, although we are definitely seeing an uptick in in new members or interested.
That's what I'm saying.
We are
Because
seeing. Go
it's
ahead.
not even really, it's not a problem with the people coming in, it's a problem with keeping people.
Yep.
Right.
That's the
Yep.
problem.
Once they get in, you got to have some things for them to do,
Yep.
and that's where the community service can come in,
Mhm.
because you have things for them to do where they're out, they're being visible, they're being seen, they're doing some things that's benefiting some other folks, and it's going to make them want to come back and do it some more.
And being able to tap into the individual brother's strengths. And
Right.
that's one of the things. I literally just had this
Very important.
conversation with my worshipful master because we have this class of 11, and I'm the head instructor, but I had to tell my worshipful, you have to give an opportunity for the brothers to plug themselves into different committees that they want to be involved in. Like I got one of my students is we're putting together a website, myself
Hmm.
and the one of the instructors who was from my last class, kind of took it on ourselves to kind of work on a website with the master's permission. And then I
Hmm.
found out the other brother, one of our newly raised brothers, he's done some stuff like that before. So I asked him if he would be a part of the committee, and he was so excited. Like,
Right.
yeah, thank
Exactly.
you so much for asking me to be a part of this committee.
Right. And he's
You
doing
would have thought
something
I
that
was
he
giving him a
already
ring or
knows.
something.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, exactly.
He was
Exactly.
so excited. He was just excited. And another one is a party planner. And I told him he happens to be my fraternity brother, but I told him the other day, because we had a fraternity event, he planned a party. I said, hey, you're going to be on a prayer breakfast committee. I don't even know who the committee is, but you're going to be on the committee because this is what you like to do. He was like, all right, bet. Yeah, I'm on it. He's,
Yeah, I saw the masquerade ball you guys did.
yeah, he did all the decorations and cooked
Okay.
all the food.
Yeah.
That was him. I was like,
Wow.
It looked like y'all had a ball. Looked like
it
you
was
having a
nice.
good time.
It was nice. It was small, but it was nice. And
Hmm.
so we'll make it an event. But from there, we're talking about how do we do more things even with the craft and doing some more fun activities and showing brothers that you can have fun in your foundational house as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
And
know.
the more involved you get people, the more likely is you're going to keep them
Yep.
involved because they're already doing things they wanted to do in the first
Yep.
place.
We even have some that wants to work with the Pythagoreans. I'm like, oh, you like the kids? I
Right.
got you. Because we need more advisors. Come on.
Right. Now,
So
see, when I was junior warden, as junior warden, you have to be involved with the Pythagoreans. I'm not a kid person. I ain't never really particularly cared working with kids. When I was coming through doing counseling, I did counseling with adults, I did counseling with kids. I found out early I really don't like working with kids. So I've tried to avoid that. But when I had to do it, I did. When I do it, I'm okay with it, but it's not something that I would sign up to do.
right.
But if you give me something else to do that I enjoy, as far as doing anything volunteering to help out, oh, I'm all on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think every kid deserves a chance,
Yep.
just like that kid giving him that book bag. I know that made a difference. Um, I know one time we were donating turkeys for Thanksgiving dinner, and one of the kids came up and asked him for a second plate of food, and the people told him that they couldn't give him any more food because they might run out. We went up and told him then, look, next year you feed the boy right now, but don't worry about food next year. We'll make sure you have more than enough turkey next year, because I don't think none of these kids, you didn't have to feed me. I got 4 or 5 places I can go eat. You know,
Mhm.
I didn't
Right.
need the
Right.
plate of food you put in front of me. Get that kid that food. That may be the only plate of food he was gonna get.
Right. And that's a part of that charity that we're upheld to part of our duties to uphold. Faith,
Exactly.
hope, and charity.
Exactly.
So yes, you hit it on the head. I'll turn it back over to our chairman, that was the end of our questions, but it's always, as always, a pleasure and an honor to talk to my classmate, Reggie E. Price.
Hey, well, it's been a blast hanging out with you again. Number 83, you'll be my bro from now on. Till.
We linked.
And
It's kind of
and the rest of you, all you ever have to do is call. If you need something, I'm as close as a phone call. That's it. All you gotta do is pick up the phone.
I think it's kind of interesting because you and I sat next to each other and we both sat behind Mark.
Mark,
Right.
yeah,
We both sat behind Mark.
yeah, exactly. Hmm.
And when we still sitting behind Mark because we still watching Mark just soar on off.
So,
All right. All right. So this will conclude the interview of classmate Reggie Price. Classmate Reggie Price, thank you for taking time out of your evening and participating in our class interviews.